they want that look, but maybe they're a little bit heavier than what that look is, I would start them more off with maybe 20-minute intervals 2 to 3 times a week. Just really easy, whether it's treadmill, bike, elliptical. Go as hard as you can for a minute, really slow for a minute. Do that for 20 minutes. That's going to be a whole lot more beneficial for you than just getting on a treadmill, bike, or elliptical for 45 to an hour.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast, your source for living a healthier lifestyle and developing a better mind, body, and soul. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful fitness gurus, athletes, and individuals who are passionate about enhancing all aspects of life, we provide you with the tools to help you take your lifestyle to another level. And now your host, Quinn Mitchell.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. This is your host, Quinn Mitchell. Today I have a very special guest. Brian Hatfield is an online fitness coach and personal trainer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Q. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Would you mind giving the audience a brief introduction about yourself?
Yes. Again, my name is Brian Hatfield. I'm the owner of Executive Fitness. It's a company. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia, but work with clients throughout the country and a few international clients too as well. Online personal training, health, nutrition, all the above.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Definitely. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. So for just getting started, would you mind telling us why you want to get into fitness or what started out your journey?
Sure. So I don't think there was any particular person, but for me, I was always an athlete as a child, all the way up through college. But I got fat in middle school. I got overweight, and I was very active and eating pretty decent and everything. But so I went through a few years of seeing what it's like, to have to deal with those things. Then finally, really from about 6th to 8th grade, and finally, I think it was between the summer between 8th and 9th grade, I just had enough. I think I got up to I was short, like 5'1", 5'2", and I was about 170 pounds.
Wow. And
yeah. And I was playing sports year round. I mean, everything. So it was kind of strange. And so over that summer, I did everything. I did it all the wrong way. And I starved myself and just exercised, walked everywhere. And I think I lost like 60, 65 pounds that summer.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, I've always kind of felt for people that are struggling with those things, and just the transformation of myself, even though I was a young guy, and the difference that I saw once I got that weight off, how my life just improved, how much better I felt, and in all situations really. So,
yes, sir.
When I finally became a personal trainer in my mid-20s, I did a few other things, but I really wanted to help people out, and that was my motivation.
Wow, that was awesome. So just bring it back during the transformation process. Was it like any major obstacles that you faced that you find common with people that you train now?
I would say probably. Well, I'm really big on mindset, number one, and I think we're usually our own worst nightmare. So we're usually worst obstacle is ourselves. But once we get over that, it's really just there's so much. I saw in the notes like bad information, especially when it's nutrition,
Yeah.
And really with everybody, we got to address nutrition before anything else. And it's just overcoming that bad information and really a lot of negativity for folks that have tried it and just not had a lot of success. So that's usually the first place that I like to start.
Because I know with me, because I played college basketball as well. So nutrition was always like a big thing for me because we always had like the cafeteria food. So just being able to get like a solid meal in and being in the caf, it's like I never knew really what to eat. So I really had to do my own research and find out what was really good and how I can adjust to like school meals versus meals at home.
Right. Yeah, it's a struggle.
So speaking about nutrition, just to jump into it, what is it that you think would be a good place for someone to start that's just getting into working out when they don't really have like a specific guide that they follow? What do you think? What are some things that you can suggest to them?
Well, really, So when talking about nutrition, I don't like to take a lot of things out to start off with. So, you know, obviously if we're working out, protein's huge, you know, and making sure that you're getting enough protein every single day. I think everybody knows that. And I'm a big believer in getting real food, you know, not supplements and everything, but try to do as much as you can possible with real food, you know, but you're getting the protein that you need. Obviously getting vegetables, fruit, all that kind of stuff. You know, I see a lot of people and they're starting that journey like what you're saying, and they're trying to go without fruit or vegetables or all meat or that. But a well balanced approach, you know, is really the best thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're first starting out in the gym.
Yeah, so speaking about that too, because I know a lot of people, they like, the big thing now is vegan or
Right.
the keto diet.
Mhm.
How, so personally, like, how do you feel about those specific diets, and are they good for you? Because I mean, somebody that's just doesn't work out, they might read about it and they're like,
Right.
oh yeah, it's really good for you, but then they're lacking protein, or they don't know how to get the protein in their system.
Right. So we're gonna start off with a controversial one, I guess. Well, so with vegan, I'm not a big fan, to be honest with you. I do believe that, and I've worked with vegans and vegetarians, and you can especially get the protein, which I think is the biggest obstacle with that type of eating. You can get the protein, but it's very hard. It's really, really, really hard. And I see too many people just saying, well, this source of protein has just so many grams, you
Yeah.
know, and that's great, but it doesn't do what a good animal source protein is going to do. You have to eat almost twice as much of that plant based just to get the same thing, and you're going to have to be supplementing a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I work with people, and I don't get in if they want to be vegan, if they want to be vegetarian. You know, I work, and I don't challenge people on that. If they ask me my opinion, they'll probably have a better chance eating more of good animal based protein, getting
Mm-hmm.
the weight off, and then doing that. But
Gotcha.
I do believe, you know, the animal proteins have so much good macronutrients, minerals, and everything like that. It's very hard to get that from plants, unfortunately.
Yeah,
You know,
I definitely agree.
yeah,
Because a lot of people read a lot of articles and they think, 'cause I know one of my friends personally, she doesn't like eating beef specifically because she says it's hard to digest and whatnot. But I think when it's, because I feel like we live in a society where the vegan or whatever the hot trend is right now, people just go with it and they go 100% without looking at what's actually good for them at the end of the day.
and it's tough. It's really tough because there's scientific reports, studies on both sides.
Hmm.
You know, and even me working with nutrition for so long now. I mean, I've been really big on the nutrition thing for about 10 years now.
Oh
You know,
wow.
I can read reports and even get confused myself,
Hmm.
you know, and really, really like take almost like a day just to try to figure out what's going on in this report. So there's so many other variables that they don't talk about. And there's so many biases on a lot of those things, you know, that
Hmm.
you don't know why, you know, they're promoting this or they're
Yeah.
promoting that. And so what I found is most people are going to find the reports and going to find the evidence that they want to back up how they want to eat most of the time, you know?
Hmm.
So it's really trying to meet people where they're at and then kind of showing them, well, you know, I've been training for 15 years, you know,
Yeah.
and most of my career is really just consulting with people as soon as they join a health club. So
Hmm.
I've consulted with thousands of people through my career. And so I've sat down with them and see how they eat, you know,
Hmm.
see what kind of nutrition they're on, and then check their body fat, you know, with, you
Yeah.
know, machine, not the handheld, but the real, you know, electromagnetic machine, and see where they're at, you know. And so I can see by adjusting things different ways what's really happening in the body. And
Got
so
you.
when I give advice, that's really, I do take the studies, you know, into consideration, but it's really that background and talking and working with so many people, what works and everything like that. And you know, I think if that was such a good option for people, being an athlete, you know how much sports nutrition there is there. we would be seeing, 75, 80% of athletes doing that.
Being vegan, yep.
And so those are the people that their bodies have to be running, ideally at the best at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we get, the nutrition that trickles down from those kind of things.
Got you.
With the keto, I love keto eating because, proteins and fats that I wish and that can work. I use that sometimes as a strategy for people, it's a short-term strategy from time to time. But as far as long-term, it's not, in my humble opinion, it's not the approach that you want to take.
Gotcha. What would you suggest for people that's trying to lose weight, let's say, and they're just starting off in this fitness journey?
I try to see where they're at right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a lot of times I have most of the people that I work with, they're only eating maybe once or twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we want to, when we're starting off, add smaller meals in, right?
Gotcha.
And kind of get what I try to develop with people when they're first starting is kind of a base for themselves, So if you're only eating once or twice a day, let's get up, let's get a decent breakfast in, and let's plan out a few good meals. All right, let's see how, after 2 weeks, let's see what the body's doing, and then depending on what the body's doing, then we can adjust some things.
Gotcha.
But you'd be surprised. I mean, I'm sure you see it. You think, oh, people are eating all day long, but that's not the case a lot of the time.
Yeah, because that was one of my biggest challenges as well. Because, like I said, being a college athlete, playing basketball was like, in the summertime, you build up all this muscle, eating 3-4 times a day. And then once the season comes, I lose it all. But it's because we got so much other things going on. And that's one of the things I want to jump into you too is the time management and working out. Because I know that's something that you specialize in with your clients. Just trying to give them, because I know a lot of people come to you, they say, oh, we're trying to work out, but we don't have the time in the day to do so. So what is something that you suggest people that they can do just to help them schedule their time out during the day?
Yeah, and I talk a lot about that, and it's because as we get older and careers develop and family and everything like that, it gets really tough. And so instead of setting unrealistic expectations, like for most of us going to the gym 5 or 6 days a week for an hour and a half, how can we get to the gym maybe 3 or 4 days a week for 30 or 45 minutes? And so you can get the same results. And so I get into a lot of like interval training, circuits, things like that, where, I want people to be losing weight because, 9 times out of 10, people are going to need to lose at least 5-10 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And others going to need to lose 60 or 70, but they need to lose some body fat, but it's also strengthening their metabolism. Mm-hmm. So we need to be doing some form of resistance training, even if it's not at the gym, but doing some kind of circuits where we're hitting major muscle groups on a weekly basis and getting in that cardiovascular as well. That high intensity interval training, those kind of things, they're very useful for people when used the right way. So 30, 45 minutes, a few days a week, I talk a lot about, instead of trying to say, okay, well, I'm going to get up super early, I'm going to miss an hour of sleep and walk, just get like 10-minute walks a few times a day. It's just as effective, and you're getting more sleep.
Got you. So you get active.
Right. Exactly.
So how do you feel about the dietary? So I know a lot of people, when they lose weight, they often go to dietary pills, the waist trainers. How do you feel about those?
You're shooting yourself in the foot, man. especially with the diet pills and everything. Because look, I can get anybody to lose weight. I just start cutting their calories.
Mm-hmm.
But say you had 20 pounds to lose, and for instance, maybe you were burning 1,500 calories daily before that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I get the 20 pounds off you, but now you're only burning 750 calories every single day, right? I mean, that's what happens. That's why most diets fail, is because it's just calorie reduction, and that's why people end up going back and gaining more weight year after year every time they go through that cycle and getting discouraged. So we can use some calorie reduction, but we got to be working on the metabolism. And that's where getting the good nutrition in and adding some lean muscle tissue is so important, so that we not just put the weight off, but we also rebuild the metabolism in the same time.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of BS out there. With these, with especially with these vitamin companies. You see the commercials all the time. All you gotta do is take this pill, and
Yeah.
people actually believe it. But then at the end of the day, they feel bad about themselves when they're not seeing the weight come off. But
Yeah.
but you can't help them because they don't know any better.
Yeah, it's sad. I hate to see it because basically most of those they're just gonna basic kind of stimulants and they suppress the appetite.
Hmm.
And so now you're eating even less and eating even less. And that's just long term speaking, that's not what you want to do. You know, and I've seen
Yeah.
people, man, in short period of time, like 6 months, 8 months, just wreck their metabolism with those
Wow.
things. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I really don't recommend them for anybody.
Hmm. So I have a couple more questions. How do you feel about people? We're going to go to gaining weight because I know that's something I sometimes have struggled with in the past. When it comes to I know you mentioned eating, but how do you feel about like creatine, the whey powders, different stuff like that? How do you feel about that?
Well, if you're really trying to put on weight, creatine's probably the best supplement that you can buy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the other stuff's junk. I have kind of, if I was trying to gain weight, I would definitely be using a little bit of creatine for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a hard gainer, you're probably gonna have to be taking in some whey protein. I'm not a big fan of the mass gainers. That's just
Yeah.
junk, man. If you want to look like crap, do that. But really, just for guys, especially that are trying to put on muscle, I talk to them, and all they talk to me about is their weight training. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so what are you eating? Oh, and they can't tell me what they've been eating, how much
Mm-hmm.
protein they're getting and everything like that. And so trying to gain weight, or really anybody, we find out how much protein you need first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so kind of trying to make it simple is somebody that's trying to gain weight, I say for every pound of body weight they have, they need at least a pound, or excuse me, a gram of protein. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so starting with there. And so if you're trying to gain weight and you're a hard gainer, you probably need a little bit more carbohydrates through the day than somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and don't just eat junk, get it through good sources of carbohydrate first.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome because like I said, I know a lot of times especially being in school, I know a lot of listeners, they're my former teammates. They often ask, how do you gain weight? And it's like they often are limited to just the cat food, or
Right.
if they go out, it's McDonald's, it's Taco Bell. So they don't really have a real source of way of eating,
I got
whether
it.
to somebody that's living at home.
Right. So in that case, if you can go get your food, getting, the cheaper sources of food that are going to help you gain the weight. So
Hmm.
obviously, I know for most of us, chicken's pretty cheap. You can get a good bit of chicken, cook that up, but your oatmeal, rice, those kind of carbohydrates are really, really, really cheap and will
Hmm.
help you with those other things. Now if you got to do the fast food thing, just watch the waistline. But it's probably, I would say whatever limitations you're on, start
Hmm.
tracking it. And with what you have, if it's not working, if you're not gaining any weight, then it's easy. You got to eat a
Yeah.
little bit more. You got to find some way to get some more calories in there and try to make those as best as possible for whatever your situation.
Got you. I appreciate your advice on that. And a couple more questions. Just going back into, so I know I have a lot of female listeners as well. That I don't know if some of your clients come to you, they want to lose weight, but they often have that Kim Kardashian, like the hourglass figure, that they want to
Right.
accomplish. So, what advice can you give them? Because I often see that all the time at the gym. They kill themselves doing all types of hours on the treadmill,
Right.
then they're drained. Then I feel like I know personally because I had a client like that, and then she came to me and she said, I've lost motivation of going to the gym because every time I go, it's like dreading, like I don't want to keep doing the treadmill. But that's all she knew at the time to do. So
Right.
what's something that you can advise to them, just starting off, and how can they keep motivated to get the body that they want?
Yeah, so a lot of cardio is not going to build the body the way that you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work, and you're really kind of just setting yourself up for failure. like that. I get that look, and I've had a lot of clients over the years going for that look. And you can do that because actually building those muscles, of course, we do have genetics, but with proper weight training, you can actually build that look, you know. So obviously working on the legs, you know, hamstrings, glutes, all that kind of stuff. But you need to be doing weight training. You need to be building muscle where you're trying to accentuate. But if you're doing a ton of cardio and you're not eating right, there's no way you're going to have that look.
Gotcha.
So for most people, it's taking them off of, you know, doing those really long cardiovascular sessions. You know, that's training, time consuming, and it's really not beneficial. You know, so having somebody, maybe they want that look, but maybe they're a little bit heavier than what that look is. I would start them more off with maybe 20-minute intervals 2 to 3 times a week. You know, just really easy, whether it's treadmill, bike, elliptical. Go as hard as you can for a minute, really slow for a minute. Do that for 20 minutes. You know, that's going to be a whole lot more beneficial for you than just getting on a treadmill, bike, or elliptical for 45 to an hour. You know, and then you have time to actually build the body how you're trying to do that.
Yeah,
it's not just going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that either. Like you said, I feel like there's a whole lot of information out in the world that, like you said, that's BS. And like I said, people are really gullible in the time we live in. So they'll read it, and without having somebody that's actually educated in the field, they'll go out and do whatever they read.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's really hurting themselves.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, there's just so much bad information. I mean, if this wasn't the way I made my living, I'm sure I'd be falling for some of it too. You know, it's really tough because there's so much marketing around it. You know, like you were saying, the diet pills, the supplements, everything like that. You know, but you gotta, with anything in life, really just evaluate. You know, what are you doing? Is it working or is it not? You know, if it's not working, then you need to fix it. You know, and getting away from the cardio, a ton of cardio, the diet pills, and actually doing some resistance training. For most people, regardless what the goal is, that's a big component there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now jumping into the mental health, I know you talk a little bit about that as well. How important is it because a lot of people don't realize what mental health is, and they don't realize how it affects them on a day-to-day basis. So could you just talk a little bit about that and how important it is on the physical body as well as just your overall mental health?
Yeah, mind, body, spirit, all of it connected. You know, and if you got a weakness on one side, you're not going to be very balanced. You know, so if you're eating like the majority of people, and you're probably enjoying some alcoholic beverages, and you're dehydrated, how do you think you're going to perform? How do you think your brain is going to perform? You know, even mentally, like clarity on a day-to-day basis. You know, and you're not exercising, or you're not exercising properly. You know, you're really just you're setting yourself up for failure. And there's only so long that your body's going to go like that before you start seeing some adverse effects mentally like that. You know? And then, of course, what I see is as people age, it gets worse and worse and worse, and leads to depression and just bad things. So that's why I love like what we do, because when you get on an exercise program, you start taking better care of yourself. You're eating better, you're exercising, you're going to feel a whole lot better mentally. You know, and like I said, it just, everything in your life gets better. Everything. But if you're neglecting that, and your negative talk to yourself every day, like a lot of people are, you know, it's not a good situation, you know, but the great thing is you can fix it. You can fix it, you know. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that slump though, you know, just to take that for people that, you know, mentally haven't been taking care of themselves, to take that first step is really, really tough from what I've seen, man. And that's, you know, trying to motivate people and getting them. I think you had mentioned in the notes too, like you know, what's good at staying motivated, you know, gym, but you know, somebody that's having troubles like that, like setting a few goals and actually like seeing those goals are huge mentally, you know, seeing some of those goals that you wrote down happen. I do progress pictures with all my clients on a weekly basis, and measurements. So they're seeing the progress they're making, and that makes a huge deal, as far as their outlook and being positive and everything like that.
Yes, sir. Just one more question I wanted to ask you about, because I know, like one of my clients before, she had mentioned to me, she said, when it comes to losing weight, oftentimes when you're training, they often look at the scale, but when they're looking at the scale day by day, they're weighing themselves every day, but they're not seeing any progress. But a lot of times the progress isn't coming off at the actual scale, but it's more on your mental body, how you feel about yourself. So could you just dig in a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I try to tell everybody, do not weigh yourself daily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do calls with my clients, Zoom calls like what we're doing. I do those calls every single week with my clients. And usually they're like, well, I got on the scale. You're driving yourself crazy, man. So a pound of fat and a pound of muscle is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're exercising, then hopefully we're losing body fat and gaining muscle at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so I see this, like exactly what you were talking about, happen a lot for folks, especially in their first 60 days. Mm-hmm. Is they're seeing progress. I'm seeing in their pictures. They're feeling better about themselves. And I know they've lost some weight, but the scale is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's so much water fluctuation in the body as well. It's just, it's so hard. I know people want to see that scale go down. I know that's the biggest indicator they want to see a lot of times, but it's not a good tool to see what's really going on in the body. So, checking that body fat percentage, if you have that available to you, and taking the pictures and everything like that, that's really the best way to judge and to see where you're doing. But you're really going to drive yourself crazy if you're getting on the scale every single day.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that as well, because like I said, a lot of people hear it from me, but like I said, there's often a lot of articles that they read, and with the fitness industry, I see within itself, there's a lot of fitness trainers out there that I feel like they give clients just a workout, then they don't hear from them ever again, and It's like oftentimes the clients are just working out by themselves, and they having all these mental things going on, like these questions, but they don't have anybody to reach out to. Right. So I feel like that makes their journey much more harder than somebody that's like hands-on, like you are, guiding their clients, having the weekly Zoom calls with them, and can talk about the problems that they're having.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, you definitely hit it right there, and that's the biggest thing, is having accountability, and having somebody with a coach or a trainer that you can ask. And that's, since going online, I went 100% online in late June, early July. And I think that's been the success is people being able to have that, because if you're working with a trainer, if you're a trainer in the gym or a studio, you got 20 or 30 clients that you're seeing, back to back to back, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Are you able to pick up that phone and get back to somebody? A lot of times you're not. Are you able to hold them accountable on everything else that they're supposed to be doing when they're not at the gym? Probably not. So having that is huge. I mean, with my coaching clients too, they have my number, and I try to cycle through and touch base with everybody, every few days. And even if they've done their weekly Zoom call, hey, look, let's get on a call, man. Let's talk. Let's figure it out. Because educating people is huge. I don't want to just get somebody to their goals, but also like teach them along the way. So they're not relying on a trainer, they're not relying on somebody just making workouts for them, or just, putting them on, putting them on a diet for 3 months or something like that. They know how to take action as far as their health for the rest of their life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely appreciate all the knowledge you're dropping on us. So before I let you go, would you mind telling us what a typical day is like for you, and if you have any like special routines that you go through?
Typical day. Well, and I know you kind of asked about balancing work and home. I've got kind of a messed up balance right now, just because the way that I work, but it's working for me. And so I check on my clients at least twice a day. First thing in the morning, and then usually about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So my clients, they all report on an app. So I see what they're doing on a daily basis as far as their exercising, as far as their nutrition. So I'm making sure that that first thing that they're doing what they're supposed to do. I'm seeing if they're having any problems, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then throughout the day, it's doing calls like this with them and just really programming what phase they're in, what's the next phase, that kind of stuff. And then of course, talking to new clients, talking to prospects, everything like that. But it's just, it's just that and that and that. And then finally, what I find is sometimes I'll go 6 or 7 days straight, and then, okay, I need to take like, a day or usually like half a day and just relax. I do for myself, I work out about 4 days a week right now. So I make sure that's happening, Also been getting back into, I was a hockey player, so I've been getting back into skating lately.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great stress relief. Trying to play golf when I can. That's not very relaxing for me. But, just those kind of things, spending time with the kids,
Yes, sir. And one more question I forgot. I had one to mention before. A lot of people don't really realize how much time they should be working out throughout the day. Some people say they should work out twice a week, 3 times a week, but they don't really have a stable balance on, and they don't understand recovery either. So what is something that you would suggest to somebody that's just starting to work out when they don't have really much experience?
It really there's a lot of things that depends on. See if I can try to answer that. The older that you get, the more important the recovery is. So, if you're in your mid-30s on up and you're trying to train 6 days a week and you're not getting sleep, nothing's going to happen probably, But I mean, if you're a younger guy or younger girl, you got the time and you're resting, then go get those reps in at the gym. That's the most important thing. But you can't, and all that stuff that you were talking about, that you hear, all the nutrition stuff, all the workouts, you never hear anybody talking about the recovery, and that's so important, making sure you're sleeping, making sure you're getting good sleep, all that kind of stuff. But I would say if I was going to put a minimum on it, you need some kind of vigorous exercise 3 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes at the very minimum, and then if you're really pressed for time, getting those walks in, those 10-minute walks, that kind of stuff throughout the day when you can. You can get everything you need within that if that's all the time that you have.
Gotcha. I appreciate you telling us that as well. My last question before I let you go: what is something that you're most grateful for?
Really, just being able to help people out, man. I see so many folks, and a lot of them are very successful, but they don't really have a lot of joy in their life, because they're stuck in a job or a career, and yes, it's paying the bills and all that kind of stuff. But I think we all kind of have a purpose, and when you kind of align what you do with what your purpose is, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm very, very, very fortunate to have kind of stumbled into it, in my 20s and being able to make a living with it.
Yes, sir. And for people that have any questions concerning workouts, or they want to train with you, would you mind giving out your contact information?
Yeah, sure. So the best way to reach me is just usually by email. Shoot me over an email, and it's Brian, BRIAN, CEO Fitness @gmail.com. Or you can check. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, Brian Hatfield. Check me out. Connect with me. You'll see a lot of my stuff there as well.
All right, Brian. I really appreciate you taking time out your day to talk to us and give us all this advice. Like I said, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Definitely. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
No problem. You too.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe or to leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at QuinnMitchellII.com, as well as find us on Instagram for more useful content and resources.